So my topic this morning is, and it's not going to be stand-up comedy, but it might be. God, I'm having a good day. So my title today is Truth or Dare. Truth or Dare. So our spiritual principle says that to find the truth of inner peace, you have to practice the presence. So any of you remember the game Truth or Dare? Did you play Truth or Dare? No, I didn't play Truth or Dare. I'm an only child and I got all kinds of trust issues. Number one, I wasn't going to tell you the truth. And number two, I certainly wasn't going to take the dare. But all of that is another sermon, not today. But we have to learn to listen to the divine because there is wisdom with the inner voice that is there with us all the time so that we don't have to dare at life. We can follow what is true. We can follow the truth. So imagine playing an endless game of truth or dare. And you're playing this game with your inner voice. It's a game that we subconsciously play. We don't even have to think about it. It happens for us normally, that we often do behave and think based off of the societal norms that are around us. We can't help it. That is that's how we were all raised, right? But not everything is good for us at all times. And we have to learn to listen to the inner voice that will give us wisdom and guidance by which to how to live our life on a day-to-day basis. If we trust and allow this voice to guide us, there is only new possibility to be revealed in your life. Don't we all seek to have peace of mind? Isn't that the point of it all? We come here, hopefully we'll hear a word or somebody will inspire us or we listen to a podcast or we read a book just to give us a hint of hope and peace. And I am here to tell you, you have that voice with you at all times. I am seeking wisdom in the book, The 4 Habits of Peace by Elizabeth Chronkhite. Now, all of you have habits, right? Are all of them good habits? Are they the habits that you want? I mean, do you really have to make a decision whether or not to have that next piece of cake? You have to make a decision not to have the second piece of cake. You don't have to make a decision to eat the second piece of cake because you want it if it's good, right? So we have this habitual behavior that goes along with us. We don't even have to think about it. It just naturally happens. Whenever there's an audience, I naturally stand up and start talking. It makes no difference where it is. My colleagues say, "Do you always sit at the head of the table?" I went, "Well, yes, because if I stand up, I want to make sure that I can present. It may not be my meeting, but just in case, I'm always prepared." One-on-one, everybody will tell you. My answers are yes, no, okay. You give me an audience, I got full of ideas at that point, right? So new behaviors can become automatic if we develop them and we create new habits. We have the opportunity, we are in control of the things that we do in the future based off of our habits. And if I develop a good habit, I got it made. If I develop a bad habit, it's a hard one to break. I don't know, maybe I'm the only one. Old habits are hard to break, and sometimes those old habits are not the healthiest thing for us. Now, you might ask, well, what do you mean by bad? It's because you don't want it. I'm not really judging for you in your life what's good or bad. If you're hurting somebody else, by the way, there is no question about it, that's bad. That's wrong. There are things in life that are wrong, and hurting other people is wrong. You don't get to make that choice on your own. But whatever you feel is the right thing for you, you get to make those decisions. And it's this repeated behavior that becomes imprinted in our neural pathways so that it just becomes natural for us to do it. If anything has lemon in it, I love it even before I know what it is, because I love the taste of lemon. Lemon yogurt, lemon anything, lemon cake, lemon pie, lemon cake, lemon cake. Did you hear me? Lemon cake. I'll always have at least a second piece without thinking. So there is a link between, though, what we think and the context that we are in. Based on where we are, there are certain things that just get triggered in us naturally. Think about it. You will hear a song and you will go back exactly to that point and time and experience all over again the pleasure or the pain that you experienced at that moment. Because that neural pathway has been developed. And before you think about it, you will have an internal response. It may be positive, it may be negative, it may be a smile, it may be a tear. It doesn't take much. Immediately something takes us back to the context. And if we increase our ability and our practice of creating the habits that we want in our lives or the outcomes that we're looking for, we can change the patterns of the past and develop new ones for the future. So what are the obstacles that present themselves that prevent us from hearing the inner voice? What are the things that we do that prevent us to not trust our higher self and trust in our ability to make good decisions or follow guidance? Those issues are guilt, fear, attachment, and projection. There are probably more. We're going to hang with 4. A guilt is that emotion that we feel when we feel we haven't done something right. The definition says that you've made a moral violation, but that is too loaded for us this morning. It just means that for some reason we feel bad about it. Fear, Ernest Holmes teaches us, is fear, or shall we say faith, negatively applied. In other words, we put faith in something that we don't want instead of the faith in something that we do want. And when we put faith in something that we don't want, that is how we develop the conditions that we experience in our life. But therefore, because we created it, what can we do? We can uncreate it. Then there's the issue of attachment. And attachment has to do with the fact that if I lose it or I don't get it, I am not going to be happy. It's a simple thing. And we all have them. The Buddhists say, it's the origin of all suffering is our issues of attachment. And we have a tendency to believe that it's something really extreme out there. Don't let me have lemon cake and there's lemon cake here and I have an attachment. You will see I will not be happy. You cannot keep a lemon cookie around me, by the way. I will steal them if I have to. So the issue of attachment is that if you lose something, if something is removed, or that you don't get it, you're not going to be happy. And then it's the issue of projection. You can't get away from the fact that sometimes we cannot see or understand our own behavior, and we judge other people for the same behavior and thoughts that we have. That's called projection, okay? And they're often that we do it. We just can't see it in ourselves. Haven't you heard somebody, of course it's not you, say something, you kind of go, sweetheart, pot or kettle, dear? You know, you do the same thing. If we develop good habits, though, and the habits are the things that we want to manifest in our lives, we can change things. So my question to you is, are you ignoring the inner voice that is trying to lead and guide you in the direction of your happiness and the potential that is in your life? She gives 4 examples, or shall we say 4 habits that we should develop. And those habits all have to do with having a relationship or recognizing the inner voice. We must commune with it daily. We must turn to that truth throughout the day. We must call upon the teacher of truth that is within us throughout the day to get guidance and direction. And fourth of all, that we let love extend from ourselves and recognize in it that we are actually love. If you ever want to know what you are love. You are the divine's expression of that thing called love. So communicating and turning and calling and loving refers to what? A relationship. And we have to have a relationship with the inner voice. This is how we learn. I had an experience myself, me and this microphone this morning. I went to a celebration of life of a very, very dear friend, a high school friend, and at the time I was living in Florida, so I went back to Michigan for the celebration of life, but I was late. So if you have ever been in a traditional, almost church or any faith community, typically there's a choir stand, right? And you can come through the back like there, and just come up in the choir stand. So this is this huge church at home. And so I just eased up in the back and just started singing along with the choir. When the event was over, the choir member said, I didn't see you, but I heard you and I knew you were here. That's the familiarity that you need with the inner voice. So you know what voice to trust when it is speaking. Because unfortunately, we can't trust everything we think. I wish we could, but we learn the hard way. We have to learn to recognize the voice. So how are you practicing listening to your inner voice? We must develop a relationship so that the sound of it is familiar, not foreign, familiar, that it immediately gives us peace and understanding because I know I'm being guided and directed by my higher self. And we find this inner peace by practicing the presence. We practice the presence because we have to have a connection with the voice of the divine so that we can get clarity and direction about things we don't understand and don't know. We don't need the Spirit to direct us on all things. The Spirit doesn't need to tell me to eat lemon cookies. I just eat lemon cookies. Nobody give me lemon cookies, by the way. I have the power of suggestion that goes on here all the time. I'll mention something like that, and next thing I'll know, I'll have lemon cookies all over. Gummy bears, totally different story, though. I love candy. I don't like chocolate, but I love candy. What am I talking about this morning? Maybe I'm just hungry. It's all about tapping into our higher selves. That voice that is within us that leads us, guides us, and directs us, and gives us clarity when we're in particularly difficult times in life or times that we feel we just don't know what to do. Do you always feel like you know what to do? Sometimes it's do nothing until the voice comes up. Or the other time is it's just like your GPS that says, continue on the road until you get to the turn. When you're on this long road and you think, am I sure? Should I have turned? You stay on the road until you get to the turn. So to achieve inner peace, we have to deal with the issues of guilt, fear, attachment, and projection. And so we cultivate this relationship so that when I hear the voice, I know to trust it and I know that I can follow its direction. It's by embracing these principles that we have of oneness and that there is no separation and that you are the personification of this one divine life and you are love, that you get to trust the inner voice that is within you to lead and guide and direct you. You do not have to call me. Although if you call me, it's fine. But you have a voice in you. I should only confirm what you already know. If I tell you something the Spirit hadn't spoke to you yet, hold on. Even though I'm right, I don't want you to do it for anybody else. But it's always confirmation. I have people who tell me all the time, I have a word for you. I said, well, you better make sure the Spirit told me first. Because if not, I'm not listening. Because you can't bring me a word that the Spirit hasn't spoken to me yet, or I'm not going to receive it. It's all about, though, listening to that inner voice that is inside of you. The inner voice that says, I don't think you should go. The inner voice that says, yeah, I think you should go. Whereas Liz and Annabelle said to me yesterday, they said, we're not going to be at Foundations. And I sent them a note, and they came back. I said, no, we're going to be there. And they said, well, we decided it was going to be a lot of people in a small space, so we just decided, no, we shouldn't go. That's the inner voice. The inner voice that says, COVID is high, not the room to be in, okay? And you need to know that. Stay away. Now, there is no such thing as COVID in this room ever. Laugh, that's a joke. It is a practice that requires intention and dedication and focus to the spiritual principles and practices that are necessary for you to cultivate the relationship with the divine. You are not going to understand, know to trust, be able to take the guidance of the inner voice if you're not familiar with it. And I would suggest you become familiar with it before you need it. Because when you're in a crisis, you'll believe almost anything that you think will bail you out. But this interconnectedness that we have with the divine is all about just recognizing what is that within us, but it is through our spiritual practices. Why do we have spiritual practices? Because they reinforce and change our consciousness about principle. We are not naturally operating in principle at all times, but we can if we practice the presence. And practicing the presence, what? It's, of course, meditation, mindfulness, and visioning. That's how you practice the present. We meditate because we need to shut up long enough for the Spirit to speak and for us to listen. If you are talking more than the inner voice, you need to stay there a little longer. Because it is a time to listen to the inner voice, not tell the inner voice everything that the inner voice already knows. You can tell it. It's okay. I tell people all the time, you don't have to tell me what to pray for. Just tell me I need to pray for you. And Rev says, Rick, you have to understand, but they need to tell you. And I go, okay. If you need to tell me, it's fine. But I can pray for you, the highest and best in your life and how to have a clue what's going on. I don't need to know your business to hold the highest and best for you. And I hope you can do the same thing for me, because I'm not going to tell you my business. If you don't have video, I wasn't there. The other thing is mindfulness. What is mindfulness? Mindfulness is preventing yourself from living in the regret of the past or the anxiety about the future. Most of our time, particularly our idle time, is thinking about what we shoulda, woulda, or coulda done in the past, or the anxiety about what I'm going to have to deal with in the future. That is not being mindful. Being mindful just says, I am right here, right now, and God is speaking to me from the platform. Laugh, people. That was a joke. I needed somebody to get up with a sign and say, laugh. I'm not always funny. But we have to learn to be mindful, because the regret of the past, by the way, who has figured out to change anything in the past? If you figured it out, you let me know, okay? Because I'm here to tell you, it's virtually, it all works together for good in the end, but there's nothing about the past that I can change. And dreading the future is not healthy either. The third thing is visioning. And what is visioning? Visioning is the divine potential that is within you that wants to come from thought to experience and manifestation. And we don't talk enough about visioning. But I am here to tell you, when we are restless, when we have anxiety, when we feel like we don't know what to do, when we feel that we are confused, often it is time for something new to be birthed in our lives. And when you know and can trust the inner voice, then you know that you should go ahead and do it. But that only happens by having a relationship with the divine. So having inner peace has to do with being able to trust the inner voice that is within you. Because when you can trust the inner voice that is within you, it makes no difference what you encounter in life. You know exactly how to handle it. Because then we aren't working out of our pain or our past or any resentment. We are operating in the way that the divine is trying to bring something forth at this given time. So my question to you this morning is this. Do you feel any anxiety? Are there any experiences in your life you feel you're not clear about? Are you concerned about the future? Are you concerned about someone else? I invite you to turn to the inner voice that is within you and understand that there is probably something. You are impregnated with something that wants to be birthed and come forth in you. And I look forward to you to deliver that dream. You thought I was going to say baby. But I look forward to you to deliver that dream, because it is like the same thing, right? That it gestates It incubates, it grows, and eventually it manifests in our life. So let me tell you this morning, I have decided that you're all pregnant. And I am just looking forward to what will come forth. And so it is.